If you told me 3 years ago that my wife would be the reason I nearly lost my job, I would have laughed in your face. We were that couple, the kind of pair people looked at and said, "You two are made for each other." College sweethearts, same career field, same drive. We even landed jobs at the same company. People thought it was cute. I thought it was fate. She worked in marketing. I was in IT. Different floors, different teams. At first, it worked. We'd grab lunch together sometimes, share the car ride to work, even vent about meetings over dinner. She was sharp, confident, always the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked in a room. And she loved me, or at least, she used to. The change was gradual, almost invisible at first. I remember the day she got promoted, her first big step up in the company. She was beaming. Her new boss had personally pushed for her, she said. "He sees my potential," she told me over champagne. I smiled. I was proud. I really was. His name was Jared. Mid-40s, sharp suits, charming as hell. One of those guys who always had something clever to say and made people laugh even when he was being an ass. I'd seen him around. Never liked him. Too smooth, too smug. But I never said that to her. Didn't want to sound jealous. Didn't want to be that husband. But after the promotion, things shifted. She started working late. At first, once or twice a week. Then almost every night. Deadlines, she'd say. You know how it is. Except I didn't. Her department wasn't in crisis mode. And I damn sure didn't know any job that needed midnight emails and Friday night team meetings. Then came the makeup. Not just more. Different. Bolder. Sexier. Lipsticks I hadn't seen before. She said it was for confidence. Said she wanted to look the part now that she was a senior manager. Okay, fair. But then it was the perfume. Stronger. Like she wanted to leave a trace. She started locking her phone too. Not just locking it, clutching it like it was a second heartbeat. She used to leave it lying around the house. Now she took it to the bathroom. Slept with it under her pillow. One night I walked into the kitchen, and she jumped like I caught her stealing. All she was doing was texting. But her hands shook when she put the phone down. I asked her, gently, "Is everything okay?" She smiled. That fake, tight-lipped smile. Just stressed. Jared's pushing us hard. Jared. Always Jared. I should have known. But I didn't want to believe it. I clung to the version of her I'd married. The girl who used to doodle hearts in my notebooks and bring me coffee before class. Not this woman who came home smelling like wine and another man's cologne. Still, I tried. I suggested we take a weekend trip. Just the two of us. No work. No phones. She laughed. Said she couldn't get away. Too much going on. Next quarter, she promised. Let me just get through this launch. I started hearing whispers. Not rumors, concerns. Quiet ones. A guy from maintenance, an older dude who knew everyone, caught me in the hallway and said, "Hey, listen, I've seen your wife and Jared. After hours. In the parking lot. Just saying." And he walked off. Didn't wait for a reply. Then a woman from HR bumped into me in the cafeteria. We weren't even close. But she looked at me like she wanted to say something, and didn't. That look stuck with me all day. And still, I told myself it was nothing. Still, I let it go. Until the Polo Club. It was a private place, expensive, exclusive. The kind of spot you only go to if you're part of that circle. I only got in because my buddy's dad had a membership and gave me a day pass. I wasn't there to catch her. I was meeting someone for lunch. Pure coincidence. But then I saw her. My wife. In a sundress I'd never seen before. With Jared. They weren't touching. But you could feel it in the air. They were leaning close, laughing like old lovers. She wiped something from his chin. He touched her arm. It was too intimate for coworkers. Too comfortable for just friends. I froze. Didn't approach them. Just watched. Later that night, I brought it up. "I saw you today," I said. "At the Polo Club. With Jared." She didn't even blink. It was a work thing. Client networking. On a Sunday. She shrugged. "You don't understand how these things work. You're being paranoid." That's when it hit me. She wasn't even trying to lie convincingly anymore. Because in her head, I was already out of the picture. I was the inconvenience. The baggage. The fool who was supposed to sit quietly while she played house with her boss. That's the night I stopped asking questions. I stopped arguing. I stopped begging for attention. And I started planning. I used to think people at work respected us, me and her, as this power couple. Now I realized most of them just pitied me. After that polo club incident, something inside me just snapped. Not in a rage kind of way. I didn't yell, didn't throw things, didn't even argue. I just went quiet. Cold. Calculated. I still kissed her goodbye every morning. Still smiled when she texted working late again. But behind that smile, I was clocking every lie, every late-night excuse, every shift in routine. Because now, I wasn't just suspicious. I knew. And here's the thing no one tells you about office affairs. If they are happening, people always know. Maybe not right away, but eventually. Because no matter how secret you think you're being, someone sees something. I started noticing how people looked at me. The polite nods turned into awkward silences. My name came up in rooms and the vibe would just shift. One time I walked into the break room and two guys stopped mid-conversation and practically sprinted out. That's when I started digging. It began small. I casually asked a few coworkers if they'd seen much of my wife lately. One of them, a young tech guy named Ryan, just looked at me and said, "Are you sure you want to know?" That alone told me everything I needed. I said yes. He hesitated, then leaned in. "Look, man, I'm not trying to start drama, but I've seen some stuff." "Like what?" "Like her and Jared. A couple times. After hours. They are always the last ones to leave. One time I forgot my badge and had to go back in through the side entrance. Saw them through the glass wall in his office. I felt my throat tighten. What were they doing?" He looked around, then whispered, "She was on his desk." I didn't stick around to see more. My hands went cold. I thanked him, walked to the nearest restroom, and just stood at the sink breathing. I wasn't surprised. I was sick. That's different. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about how stupid they must have thought I was. Later that week, another employee, a woman from accounting, pulled me aside in the elevator. "I don't mean to interfere," she said gently, "but I saw Jared and your wife kissing in the hallway. Late. The cameras probably caught it. Honestly, I didn't know how to tell you." There it was again. That tone people use when they feel sorry for you. Like you're the last one to get the joke, and the joke's on you. But I wasn't the joke anymore. That weekend, I dug through our phone bill. We shared a family plan. Mistake number one. Turns out, she'd been texting him every day. Hundreds of messages. Late at night, early mornings, even while we were on vacation in Cancun. Most of them were deleted from her phone, of course. But the log showed the timestamps. Patterns. Calls at 11:45 p.m. when she was supposedly in the shower. Messages every lunch break. The kind of frequency you don't even keep up with your best friend. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed more. I started taking photos. Screenshots of text logs. I placed a tiny recorder, legal in our state, inside my car's dashboard, since she often used it to drive to late-night team events. It caught a phone call. She laughed. Said, "You're lucky I haven't slipped up. He's still so clueless." Then Jared's voice. "If he finds out, it'll be your word against mine. He's not gonna risk his job over it." Right then, I knew what I had to do. You see, Jared wasn't just some sleazy mid-level exec. He was her direct superior. And by company policy, any undisclosed relationship between a manager and subordinate was grounds for termination. Especially if it involved favoritism, manipulation. Oh, get this, emotional distress to another employee. That last part, that was my golden ticket. Because I was no longer just a betrayed husband. I was now an impacted employee. HR didn't want to hear it at first. I scheduled a meeting, walked in with a file folder thick with evidence, text logs, witness names, time-stamped photos, everything short of a confession. And they froze. They tried to play it off. "This is a delicate matter." I said, "No, this is a hostile work environment, and I'm prepared to take legal action if you don't handle it internally." That changed everything. Suddenly, HR was very interested. They took my statements, asked for time to investigate. I gave them a week. Meanwhile, I reached out to a workplace harassment attorney, told him everything, showed him everything. His words, "You've got a lawsuit and leverage. If they promoted her under false pretenses or because of that relationship, it's favoritism. And that's actionable." Now I had two things working in my favor. A corporate policy violation that could cost Jared his job. A legal claim for emotional distress, favoritism, and workplace retaliation if they tried to cover it up. I wasn't going to punch him. I wasn't going to scream at her. No, I was going to make both of them watch me rise while they sank. This wasn't a movie. This was real life. And in real life, revenge tastes better when it's slow. After I gave HR all the proof, screenshots, names of coworkers who saw them, phone records, even voice recordings, they acted like they were taking it seriously. They said, "We'll look into it." They promised to review the situation carefully. But I wasn't stupid. I knew when someone was trying to stall. A week passed. Then two. I followed up. Nothing. Then I got an email from HR. It was cold. Short. Said something like, "We have investigated the matter and determined that no violation of company policy occurred." No apology. No explanation. Just brushed under the rug. I stayed at that email in disbelief. They knew. Everyone knew. And yet they were still trying to protect her boss, Jared. Why? Because he brought in money. Because he had connections. Because my pain wasn't worth enough to rock the boat. I felt like a ghost walking around that office. People avoided eye contact. Whispers followed me into meetings. Some coworkers who had once been friendly now treated me like I was the problem. Like I had made things uncomfortable by speaking up. But I hadn't come this far to be ignored. So I took the next step. I called my lawyer again. Told him everything HR said and didn't say. He was calm and professional, but I could hear the excitement in his voice. "They're trying to bury it," he said. "That makes your case even stronger." We filed a formal complaint outside the company. Emotional distress, favoritism, harassment, hostile work environment. The moment they were served, everything changed. First, HR called me in for another meeting, this time with a nervous smile and fake kindness. "We just want to have a second look," they said. "Maybe some details were overlooked in the first review." Right. What they really meant was, "You scared us. Now we're scrambling." At the same time, my lawyer made sure the story started spreading. Through the proper legal channels, of course. Not gossip. Not rumors. Facts. Cold, hard, uncomfortable facts. The truth got around fast. Suddenly, Jared wasn't the golden boy anymore. Executives started pulling away from him. His name got left off important meetings. He looked stressed every time he walked into the building, like he was waiting for a bomb to go off. And my wife, she was quiet, distant. She knew what was coming. She tried to act normal at home, tried to laugh at shows, make small talk, but the tension between us could cut glass. One night, she finally asked, "Why are you so cold lately?" I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You know why." She opened her mouth like she was about to lie again, but this time I didn't give her the chance. "I know everything. The polo club, the desk, the hallway, the late-night calls, the texts. I've got it all. You can stop pretending now." Her face turned white, then red, then pale again. She whispered, "You went through my phone." I laughed, cold and sharp. I didn't need to. The office did it for me. That's when she knew. The affair had cost her more than just her marriage. It was about to cost her everything else. A month after the lawsuit was filed, Jared was forced to resign. The company said he was pursuing new opportunities. That was corporate code for, we had no choice but to let him go. My wife, she still had her job, but not for long. Her reputation was wrecked. People looked at her like she was radioactive. HR tried to quietly move her to another department, but the damage was done. And me? I got promoted. Yeah, the same position Jared held. They offered it to me, not because I begged or sucked up or even wanted it that badly, but because they needed a win. They needed to look like they cared, like they were cleaning house. I took the office, Jared's old office, the one with the glass walls, the same office where they kissed when they thought no one was watching. And here's the best part. My wife had to walk past it every single day. For 3 weeks, she'd pass by that glass wall and glance inside. I never looked up, never waved, just kept working like she didn't exist. Then one day, she sent me a text. I'm putting in my resignation. I stayed at it. No emotions. No reply. She packed her things and left that building for good. People asked if I was okay, if I wanted to talk. I just smiled and said, I'm better than okay. Because I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a guy who turned their dirty little secret into a career move. And every time someone asked me how I did it, I'd say, I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I just gave them the rope and let them hang themselves. I know some of you might think I'm petty for doing all this to my wife. Maybe you're sitting there shaking your head, thinking I went too far. But trust me, I wouldn't have done any of this if I hadn't already had enough. I might not have mentioned this before, but this wasn't her first time cheating. Yeah, the first time it happened was 3 years ago. She had reconnected with an old college friend through Facebook. I noticed she was texting more than usual, hiding her phone when I walked into the room, and suddenly wearing perfume to go run errands. I found messages. Flirty ones. One even said, "Last night was perfect. Can't stop thinking about it." When I confronted her, she cried. Said it was a mistake. Said it didn't mean anything. Swore she'd cut him off. I believed her. Not because I was naive, but because I loved her. I thought we could fix it. So I forgave her. Gave her a second chance. Then she did it again. Different man. Same pattern. And now, her boss. It wasn't just about sex anymore. It was about lies. Disrespect. Repeating the same betrayal and expecting me to keep turning the other cheek. I, on the other hand, had never even looked at another woman. I stayed faithful, not just physically, but emotionally, because I believed in the marriage. I believed in us. But after this last time, I was done. And if she thought she could destroy me without consequences, then she deserved a taste of her own medicine. So the day after she quit her job, I filed for divorce. I didn't give her a warning. Just handed her the papers and said, "Sign them." She looked at them, stunned. "Wait, you're serious?" "Dead serious," I said. At first, she tried the usual tactics. Tears, guilt, we can go to therapy. She even said, "But we have so many memories together." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Yeah, and now all of them are ruined." She didn't have much to fight back with. I had proof. Lawyers. Leverage. She signed. The divorce process moved fast. I kept the house. She moved into a small apartment downtown. It wasn't even about revenge anymore. I just wanted peace. But here's what really hit her. People stopped defending her. At first, some of her friends tried to spin the story, saying I was bitter or trying to ruin her life. But the screenshots, the coworkers, the lawsuit, it all came out eventually. Nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of the truth. She was humiliated, not just personally, but publicly. I found out she started seeing a therapist, and part of me hopes she gets the help she clearly needs. But that's no longer my job. I didn't go looking for another relationship. I focused on work. My team started respecting me more, not just because of the promotion, but because they saw what I went through and how I handled it. I showed up. I did the job, and I kept it real. Months passed, and one day, I saw her name pop up on my phone. A text. It just said, "Do you ever miss me?" I stayed at it for a while. Thought about all the late nights, the lies, the excuses, the apologies that meant nothing. I thought about the moment I walked into that polo club and saw her laughing with Jared like I didn't even exist. And I typed, "No, I miss who I thought you were." Then I blocked the number. That was the moment I knew I was free. Not just from the marriage, but from the guilt, the overthinking, the pain. I had carried all of it for too long. Now, I wake up without checking someone else's phone. I go to work and know I earned everything I have. I come home to silence, and it feels peaceful, not lonely. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just taking back your power and refusing to let someone walk all over you again. I don't regret what I did. Not for 1 second. Because I didn't destroy her life. She did that all on her own. I just stopped saving her from the fallout. It's been almost a year since all this happened. And honestly, life feels different now. Better, I won't lie. Those first few months after the divorce were rough. I had to learn how to be alone again. I had to figure out who I was without her. But that's exactly what I needed. I started focusing on me. My work, my friends, my health. I picked up hobbies I'd ignored for years. I even started going to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to heal. At work, things changed too. The promotion wasn't just a title. It came with real respect. People looked up to me. They trusted me. I was proud to walk into that office every day, not because I was rubbing it in, but because I earned it. And the best part? I finally got my peace back. I learned something important through all this. Sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is walk away from something you once loved. Sometimes, standing up for yourself means making tough choices, even if people call you petty or bitter. But at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to never settle for less than respect and honesty. So yeah, my wife cheated on me, lied to me, and hurt me. But I didn't let it break me. I fought back smart. I kept my dignity. And I came out stronger. If you're watching this and going through something similar, know this. You're not alone. You deserve better. And sometimes, the best revenge is just living well. Thanks for hearing my story. If you like this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real, raw stories like this one. Got your own crazy story? Drop it in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Stay strong, stay real, and I'll see you in the next one.